It's that special time of year again, the holiday season, where we gather with our loved ones and argue over politics at the dinner table. Vax mandates anyone. How about that inflation? Well, a new study from Cornell is making the case that we all just get along this year unless you don't want Aunt Susie to talk to you ever again. Researchers found that there may be a real tipping point where no issue imaginable can unite Republicans and Democrats. Results from the study show that at any level below the critical point of polarization, the researchers could reverse the political unrest by dialing down their control parameters. However, once political polarization reaches this tipping point, the study's authors failed to ease the unrest no matter what variables they changed. This even includes the national response to a common threat like war or disease. Which we did, I think we mentioned this on the show the other day. Yeah, if you had like a 9/11 style event, and in some ways COVID is a 9/11 style event, there's no one directly to blame.
It's a pandemic.
But it's a horrible thing that has killed tons of people. And whereas 9/11, generated this massive public support for our regime, for President George Bush, COVID did not do that for Trump or for Biden, and nothing could do that. Right. Nothing. There's no overlap. Everyone has basically sorted themselves effectively. You used to have, the most liberal Republican senators were more liberal than the most conservative Democratic senators, and there was ideological overlap within the parties. That has all worked itself out. That is no longer the case. It's two things that don't closely overlap at all.
And I've been trying to sort through, why this is and why you're seeing this kind of ideological sorting at the same time that you're seeing this intense anger at each other. And I think part of it is that and I'm just thinking through this might be wrong, tell me if this is crazy, but like over the last 100 years, the U.S. system has gradually taken things out of the political space, out of the democratic space. Like the Federal Reserve is going to do inflation policy. Trade policy is going to be done by these treaties and by these negotiations that we're not going to have any real say over. Those used to be the things that people really fought over. Currency policy, interest rates, monetary policy, trade policy. So you take all of that out, and the only thing you're left with then is fighting over culture battles. And so while people are sorted ideologically, their opinions only matter insofar as the identity that they express publicly. It doesn't actually matter what they think about Build Back Better or about interest rates or about anything else, because it's not up for democratic debate. It's not under the control of Congress or the president to do much about it. Despite swinging between the parties, the policies remain largely the same. And so you would expect that people sorting ideologically would then create a situation where once you get into power, you can enact your ideological preferences, which would then satisfy that side and frustrate the other side. Instead, neither side can enact their preferences. Trump left office with the Affordable Care Act still in place. Joe Manchin might nix even the modest social reforms that Democrats are trying to do here. And so all you have left then is hating the other side. Whereas before, when there was an ideological scramble, you could hate people within your own party.
Right. Well, I think that's sort of related to where I come down on this, which is it's more, the growth of the federal government's power, there used to be a lot more and there still is policy made at the local level, but at the state level, not less and less. It's more whoever wins the big national contest is going. We're going that way. So it becomes more cutthroat and more important to win at all costs.
Or you think it is, but it's not really democratically accountable. I mean, a little bit.
It's somewhat. It's the cultural preferences of the winning side feel somewhat enforced to people. I mean, that's this railing against big tech and critical race theory and that kind of stuff. The other thing, though, that I think explains this is just a very simple kind of game theory type thing that, like, when you play the same game over and over again, both sides get much more efficient at it. Like the first time you play tic-tac-toe, you do something stupid and somebody wins. Then after you play it a couple times, it's a stalemate every game because no one does anything stupid, no one tries anything stupid.
What was that War Game movie?
Yeah, it's exactly like the only winning move is not to play.
Right.
This is true in general that if you place politics is a kind of game, it has real consequences, but there's some game mechanics to it. And people, so while early on you might do something crazy and you might, not, the electors might have, voted, going back to the beginning of the founding, right? The weird situation that produces like the John Adams presidency and, all that kind of stuff. Those were kinks in how people were playing this game that got worked out over time, where now everyone's in, like, my loyalties are to my side, your loyalties are to your side. I'm not going to do anything really I'm not helping your side. Only one of our sides is winning. We're all very much on the same page about playing the game of consolidating political power effectively and logically from our standpoint. Like you would have in the 90s, you had Democrats voting to confirm Republican Supreme Court judges and vice versa. Right. You had Republicans vote, right? Like Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Eisenhower nominated Warren.
Right.
The Warren Court.
That's a great example. Republicans nominated a lot of judges that actually ended up being liberals. That would never, ever, 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 ever happen today, both ways, because they're better at playing the game of consolidating power for your side. Right. That's what I think it is.
And it is the case that electing Biden and a Democratic Congress gave the American Rescue Plan and might do Build Back Better, might get some voting rights. We'll see. But if they do Build Back Better, that'll be $5 trillion in spending. Like that's a massive New Deal level. I mean, it's the New Deal was starting from basically nothing, so relatively it was massively bigger because it was transformational. This won't be necessarily transformational, but a huge...
Yes, because we're all accustomed to giant government and giant government spending.
It's already here, but
what's another trillion?
The climate stuff will be huge. Yeah. But it also is happening divorced from kind of public conversation. It barely gets talked about in the media. It's just something that the elites are kind of working out among themselves with one side kind of rooting for it to happen, and the other side kind of just ignoring it and talking about Dr. Seuss and critical race theory instead.
I mean, this is kind of a problem with democracy, though, right? In like a conceptual way, if people don't care and don't want to be educated about the things they right. So there's a phenomenon from economics. There's the rational political ignorance of the electorate. So people are not very educated about policy, but they're correct not to be very educated about policy because they don't exert very much control over the process. So I don't know how to be a brain surgeon. I don't know how to perform brain surgery because it would be really stupid for me to waste my time learning how to perform brain surgery, because if I need brain surgery, I'll just, like an actual surgeon will do it. I don't need to know. It doesn't, and since it doesn't benefit me to learn it, I'm not going to. That actually is the same for most people for like public policy. Because even if you know everything about the ins and outs of public policy, at the end of the day, you're just going to get one vote among millions. So it's not, you don't command, it doesn't benefit you that much.
What I'd say is you're talking about elections.
Right.
I'm talking about democracy. And so much of and agreeing with you, that so much of our public policy is out of our democratic control.
Yeah.
That therefore people have to find something else to vent their civic frustrations about.
And I agree with that. Yeah. And it's a huge problem. It's something as a libertarian I complain about. The amount of power that the administrative state had when it came to the pandemic is something we found out that we're going to be ruled by unelected health bureaucrats, divorced from, to some extent at least, divorced from what the people want, and also what the people who were actually voted into power. That even like Biden has been combative at times with the CDC and other because they'll say, and he's the president, and they act like,
who do you think you are, president? We're calling the shots around here.
Right. Who do you think you are? Yeah. The person elected by the people to handle this matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll figure this out eventually.
Yeah, you and I will figure this out.
We'll get to the bottom of this.
Kim will help, and we'll get it all sorted out.
Once Kim gets here, we'll figure it out, and we'll have more Rising right after this.